Welcome back to another episode of the Even Your Dynasty Show. Today's episode, we're going to do the minor league update for last week's games, the week of April 1st through April 7th. So please keep that in mind that I won't be including games that took place today. We are recording this late Tuesday night. It'll probably end up getting posted here in an hour or so, and it'll be Wednesday by that point. So most of you are going to be listening to this Wednesday morning, more than likely, but hopefully we can give you some positive things because the Giants did just drop their second straight game to the Nationals. I have a lot of thoughts on that, but I will save that for the show I'm going to be recording tomorrow. Hopefully they can at least take the last game to give some positive mojo on that because, as much as I'd love to just go on rants, I would prefer to at least have some good things to talk about when talking about the big league club tomorrow. But we're going to talk about the prospects and how they were doing. And now we have all four full season teams going down in the minor leagues. There were a lot of good things to take away, a lot of some negatives as well. Again, keep in mind any prospects that are on the top 30 list that are playing in San Francisco. I'm not including them in who I talk about on this. Kyle Harrison did graduate off the list. He's no longer, or he's hit his uh, status to where he wouldn't have been considered a rookie any longer. So even though he is a rookie for the season, but it takes him off the list. So everybody bumped up. So Marco Luciano is now their new number one prospect. And so we'll kind of go through there. Now, a few to note, there are some injuries currently. So of the top 30, Johnny Level he's actually going to be at the Dominican Republic complex because he was a 16-year-old as an international signee in this most recent class. Trevor McDonald's dealing with groin injuries on the 7-day IL. He's their number 12 prospect. Number 14 prospect, Averson Arteaga, is on the 60-day IL with thoracic outlet surgery. I'm not sure if he's even going to play this year or if they're hoping that he's going to play in the second half. Honestly, that's not an injury I have a ton of familiarity with timetable-wise, but it does sound pretty nasty. Their number 16 prospect, Wade Meckler, 7-day IL. He hasn't played yet for Sacramento. And then number 29 prospect, Jairo Pomares, he has a back injury. He is not officially on the 60-day or anything yet, so I don't know the severity. All I know is a few days ago, they noted that he has a back injury, so he has not started his season either. Few other guys, former top prospect Will Bednar is in extended spring training, along with their number 8 prospect Reggie Crawford, number 5 prospect Rainer Arias, and number 4 prospect Walker Martin, who I'd say Martin is likely to be in San Jose sooner rather than later. The Arizona Complex League now starts in May. So they may have guys like Martin and Arias who haven't played even at that level yet start there. Maybe they'll be in San Jose by June. I still think Martin's going to be in San Jose sooner, but we'll see how that goes. But those three guys are in extended spring training still right now, and they'll get assigned to teams probably sooner rather than later. What I'm going to do on this, and I brought it up last week. This is probably going to be a longer episode. So for those of you that want to stick around for the whole thing, I appreciate it, but I'm going to kind of run through level by level. So I'm not going to go like in order of top prospects down. I'm going to just run through level by level, and I'll go over the guys playing at each level and kind of how they looked. Starting off with the AAA team with the Sacramento River Cats. Last week they went 3-3 versus Reno in Reno. They're 5-4 on the season. Won the first 3 games, lost the second, lost the following 3 games because for those of you that are aware of how kind of minor league seasons go, they typically travel to one location, play 6-game series there Tuesday through Sunday. They have Mondays as travel days, and then they do it every week. That's how they go. So they went 3-3 versus Reno. Marco Luciano on the week, 10 for 26, 3 doubles, 7 walks, and 8 strikeouts. Some things to note for him. His WRC plus so far, it's early in the season, but it's sitting at 168. So he's been really good. He was hitting about 370 on the season right now. His strikeout percentage, now this is the thing I've been monitoring the most, because at the end of the day, if he's putting the ball in play, I have all the confidence in the world that he's going to be a really productive major league player. That's the biggest question, though, for him, because he's got a lot of swing and miss. So right now it's at 26.8%, which is, I think, that's a number that almost every Giants fan would absolutely take. It feels like I'm hoping that eventually he gets it down to about 25 and can keep it around there, because he's got plenty of pop. He gets plenty of walks. He can be a really, really highly productive player if he can keep that down. So far, so good. The early returns in Sacramento are excellent from Marco Luciano. I'll be talking probably more about him tomorrow, because quite frankly, the Giants offense right now is just dead in the water and they need a spark. And I think him and Matos could be guys that at least lengthen the lineup, but I will talk more about that tomorrow. Number 2 prospect, Carson Wisenhunt. He struggled. The last episode, it was basically talking about how amazing the Giants pitching looked in that opening series for Sacramento. Completely opposite. Now, granted, it's being played in Reno, which, for those of you that are aware, is very high elevation, very similar to playing at like Coors Field. It's not quite as high elevation, obviously, but the ball travels there. And I know the weather was not the greatest. They had some pretty cold, nasty weather, but it's still tough conditions to pitch in. And he did have a little bit of bad luck in that game in the first inning. Ismael Munguia misplayed, like pretty badly misplayed a fly ball. Didn't get an error, but he totally broke backward and then like tried to charge back in to get it and couldn't get to a ball that he easily should have gotten to. And it ended up costing Carson Wisenhunt 2 runs. But final stat line for him ended up being 3 2/3 innings pitched, 5 earned runs. He gave up 2 homers. That's kind of the tough part. Walked a batter and had 3 strikeouts. So wasn't as dominant in this outing as he was in the first, but there was some bad luck involved where he should not have given up a few of the runs that he did, because the defense let him down. So take that for what it's worth. It still would have been a tough start. I mean, even if you give up 3 earned in less than 4 innings, it's not a great start, but keep those things in mind. The guy that pitched the following day was Mason Black, who's their number 7 prospect. 3 2/3 innings, 6 runs, but only 3 were earned. Gave up a home run, a walk, had 5 strikeouts. So these guys got hit around. And for those that don't know, the Reno Aces is the Diamondback system. I believe that team either won or was in the championship of the AAA, or the PCL last season. So there's a ton of talent there. Tough environment. They hit, just like the Diamondbacks do in the majors, they hit the crap out of the ball. So tough environment. You don't want to see it, but he struggled as well. But again, 3 unearned runs. Defense kind of let them down. It's a tough situation. I think Marco Luciano actually made an error in that game. A couple other guys did as well. I mean, it was a tough game defensively for the River Cats in that one. Their number 17 prospect, Carson Seymour, 4 innings pitched, 1 earned run. It was on a solo home run that he gave up. 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. He actually looked really sharp in that game. He was throwing a ton of strikes. They looked off balance. He left 1 pitch out there that a guy crushed into the right field bullpen. There's a jet stream that runs out to right field in the field, or at the ballpark they play at in Reno, and the guy hit it straight into it. Probably wouldn't have mattered, honestly, like it was crushed, but he just rode the jet stream straight into the bullpen in right field. So that was the only mistake he really made in that game. Overall looked really sharp. RJ Dabovich, their number 22 prospect, appeared in 3 games, 3 innings pitched, 5 earned runs, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts, 6 hits, kind of all over the map. Walked a ton of guys, battled control. Was pretty ugly. I think he gave up at least 1 earned run in each start, or in each appearance, 2 earned runs in the third. So he just had a rough week. Now, a guy that did not have a bad week, actually was really positive, is Randy Rodriguez, their number 29 prospect, who a lot of people thought there was a chance he would make the big league club coming out of camp. he had 3 appearances, 2 2/3 innings, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, only allowed 1 hit. Something to keep in mind out of him is this is his last option year. He's in a similar situation to Elliot Ramos, where he's out of options after this season. Um, he's already on the 40 man, so that doesn't require a corresponding move outside of just sending somebody down, or I mean, possibly you end up DFAing a guy, if it depending on who you drop. But um, there's enough guys that have minor league options in their bullpen currently that probably they would be able to just send someone down. So he's got a high 90s fastball and a big slider with a ton of horizontal movement. And last season, he had a 50-3 strikeout to walk ratio. So, I mean, that comes out to almost 17-1. Um, that almost reminds me of back when Sergio Romo was in the pen. Now, obviously, his stuff is different, high 90s fastball, but like Romo used to like not walk anybody, it felt like. So, he's someone to monitor. I could easily see him finding his way into the big league pen sooner rather than later. Now, the guys that aren't on the top list, but especially for Sacramento, I like to talk about the players that could impact the Giants this season. Would be among the list of guys that are likely to be pulled up in the case that they need to grab somebody. Luis Matos, number one, had a massive first game going back. 5 for 24, though, 2 home runs, a double, a walk, 2 strikeouts, 2 stolen bases. Had a huge game, 3 for 6. His first game has kind of slumped in the 4 games since then. Now, some things about Matos. I did some digging on a lot of these other guys, their season started Friday. Well, with the paternity leave, he got drug up to the majors, and then they didn't even play him for 2 of the games. So I kind of dug on Matos to see, because it seemed like he hadn't really been playing. And this is one of those things that I hate what the Giants did here. He was their best hitter in spring. Like, that's not even really that debatable. Like, he really was their best hitter in spring training. And then if you look at the last 2 games of spring training where he ended up only getting 1 at-bat each as a late inning replacement, he doesn't, he's not on the opening day roster. They drag him up for paternity leave. He doesn't play the first 2 days. He gets thrown in on the 4th day after Wilmer goes over the railing. So he might not even have gotten the ABs in that game. Then it's an off day on Monday for Sacramento. He doesn't play Tuesday, and then he gets to start on Wednesday. So between that Wednesday start and the 9 days prior to the Wednesday start, so before he had gotten that start on Wednesday, the 9 days prior to that, he got 6 at bats. There is no universe where having a guy that's red hot at the plate and then giving him 6 at bats in a 9-day period is the right thing to do. Like, that is actively how you cool off a hot hitter. Just in my opinion, maybe it had no impact on him because he did come back in that first game and rip 2 home runs, but it's just something to keep in mind. To me, I find that idiotic, but that's my opinion. I'm not the one that's paid to make those decisions. So, but I will question it, and I didn't agree with that one. Now, some positives for him. He is still hitting the ball hard. He's hitting a lot of them in the ground. He's hit some pop-ups. He's up there. You can tell he's up there trying to do damage right now. But some positives. Number one, he's not striking out. He has 2 strikeouts in 26, I think, or 27 plate appearances. His strikeout rate right now is like minuscule. Which is part of his game. He's a contact first guy. He is a 70 hit tool when it comes to bat to ball skills. He has if they didn't have Jung Hoo Lee already on the roster, he might have the best bat to ball skills in the system. It's just questionable, how good to great, or if it's just going to be average, kind of the rest of his tools are. But his hit tool is elite. And I like it when there's players that have elite traits. So that's always probably going to be part of his game, the lack of strikeouts, which is good. And I think the Giants lineup needs more of that right now. But another positive is last year in his time in the majors, his average exit velocity was 87.1 miles per hour. So far to this point, his average exit velo is 90.7. So he's had now it's a week, it's a small sample size, I get it, but in this small sample size so far, his exit velocity is up 3.5 miles per hour, which is good because for a guy that put on 14 pounds of muscle, you want to see him hitting the ball harder. So that's something to keep an eye on, even though the numbers aren't jumping out yet. Uh, I do think like you can see the positive effects of what he's done. And hopefully he'll heat up. Today he actually got hit by a pitch on his hand. He didn't leave the game though, which was a positive. It was on his left hand, kind of more of a glancing blow. He stayed in the game and went 1 for 3 with a double after that, and then also had that hit by pitch. So he did get on base twice. Next guy on the list, Elliot Ramos. 8 for 26, a triple, a home run, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts. Kind of the full Elliot Ramos display in the series. When he hits the ball, he hits it hard. Um, when he barrels a ball, there's not many guys that are more impressive in the system. He actually hit the triple and a home run in the one game. He had a game where he went 3 for 4 with a triple and a homer, and they were 108 and 109 miles per hour off the bat. He's like I said, he's as impressive as anybody when he barrels it. But pitch recognition skills, questionable. The bat speed's definitely not elite. It's plenty there to, you don't produce though. As strong as he might be, you don't produce those exit velocities if your bat speed is just snail speed. So it's not bad. He's he has tools. He's an above average athlete. He's not going to be a huge stolen base guy. He's not the athlete everybody thought he would be when they drafted him. He filled out his body and he kind of slowed him down a little bit, but you watch him move and he still moves at an above average level. Last season, when he was up with the big league club, several times I watched him take an extra base where you could tell he moves well. So I think he's more fast than quick for sure. Like his top end speed's probably pretty good, but he's not got like huge bursts. But he had a good week and he's hitting the ball hard, and we'll see how he does. He had struggled overall in his career at the AAA level. He's got over 800 at bats there, probably close to 900 now, with the added at bats from this season. And his overall AAA numbers are not great, but last season he hit over 300, or he hit 300 with an over 900 OPS. So let's see if he can replicate that. If he does, then at some point the Giants are going to have to give him a shot because he is out of options. So it's either they're going to have to give him a shot or going to have to move him. You're going to end up in the Joey Bart situation where you have no idea if he can be a major league player or not. So we'll see what happens there, but he did have a nice week. Another guy that had a really good week that we should probably continue to monitoring, especially with the ongoing struggles from Tyro Estrada and then Tyler Fitzgerald, who didn't exactly have a big spring and hasn't really done much of anything in the majors this season yet. Now he hasn't had a ton of opportunities, but it's just something to keep an eye on. It would be Brett Wisely, who went 8 for 18, 4 doubles, a triple, 6 walks, only struck out once, and had 2 stolen bases. So he is a guy that, it was frustrating to watch him last season. He completely was overmatched at the plate, but it also was very clear that he was not ready. And when he got his opportunity last season, like he was not a major league player last season. He got rushed due to need because Tyro was hurt and he struggled. And that happens sometimes. Some of these guys, they just aren't ready and then they develop and get ready at a later time. Kind of like something what we're hoping with Casey Schmidt. And right now he's down in AAA. He's displaying the things that get people excited. He's an elite defensive player. He can play a ton of positions. He's fast. He's got some kind of intriguing pop. If he can consistently make contact, I know last year he struggled a ton on breaking balls at the major league level. If he can consistently make contact, he could be a really solid player. I mean, he might be the utility guy that they're hoping Tyler Fitzgerald could be right now. So something to keep an eye on. He's having a good start though, so just wanted to give him a shout out. Speaking of Casey Schmidt, he also played It's about the nicest way I can put it. 3 for 22 with a double, 3 walks, and 6 strikeouts. He's just not swinging a good bat right now. But some positives. Defensively, still looks awesome. Makes a lot of play when he's playing, especially when he's playing third base. He looks great. He did play shortstop. He made a sweet pick on a play that was just a rocket at him. That I will put on the screen for everyone to see, as well as the other positive I've noticed from him. And this isn't like some huge number, but his walk rate is at 8.1%, which for those of us that watched last season, it was pretty consistently under 5. So is that going to be sustainable for him? Is that something that he continues to do over the long term? We'll see, but it is a positive to see it right now that he does look like he is making a very conscious effort to change his approach because he knows he needs to have a more professional approach if he's ever going to stick in the majors. So he is working on it. Um, we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. It's a week, just like all the people that are hot. He's ice cold. It's a week. It's a long season. A lot can change. But I did want to kind of touch base on him because I'm sure a lot of people are curious how he's doing down there. Now moving on to Richmond, they only played. Now the other 3 teams, they only played 3-game series. Because similar to how San Jose started on Friday, they started this past Friday. They did a 3-game series, and then they'll start doing what Sacramento did and play 6 games each week. So moving on to Richmond, 1-2 versus Somerset. They only have kind of 4 guys that are on the top prospect list that played. Hayden Birdsong actually pitched today. So I won't, no spoilers unless you guys want to just go look at the box score, but he'll be talked about on the next week episode. But first guy to talk about, their number 13 prospect, Grant McRae, 0 for 8 with 2 walks and 6 strikeouts. Not a good week to start, but last season he's a very inconsistent player. And last season he did this where he'd have like a 400 OPS one month, and then the next month he'd have a 900 OPS, and then he just kind of bounced back and forth. So we'll see how he does. We'll see how he does this week. But he had a really rough start last week. A lot of swing and miss in his game. That's not something that's seemingly going to change, but we'll keep an eye on how he does because he has some of the most elite speed in the system. Stole 52 bags last season. So he's a guy I think a lot of us are rooting for with his tools. He's got some nice pop, speed. The glove is elite. He's got a good arm. Like he's a 4-tool player. The one missing tool is putting the ball in play. And if he can get that tool, he could be a really good player. So we'll see what happens with him. Another guy with a very similar skill set, though, is their number 15 prospect, Vaughn Brown, who went 1 for 8 with a home run, 4 strikeouts, and a walk. So he got a home run in his, he did get a home run in the series, but also a guy that had kind of a rough week. Now, their next guy would be their number 20 prospect, Victor Barracoto. He was like a fast riser last season, led the system and had the most home runs in the system with 27 between high A and double A. They're having him start back in double A again. 3 for 13, double, and 3 strikeouts. He's a guy to just keep an eye on because he produces some insane exit velocities. I believe he's actually hit 120 mile an hour exit velocity in a game back in San Jose. And he pretty often gets 110 plus. So there's not a ton of guys in the Giants system that produce those kind of numbers. So we'll see how it translates to production, but definitely one of the more intriguing power prospects in their system. Their number 24 prospect, Adrian Sugiste, 1 for 6. Started 2 games, went 1 for 6 with a single. So nothing too crazy there. He's a solid glove though behind the plate, and we'll kind of see with Bailey up on the big league club. There's not really a ton of catchers in their system that you really view as guys that are going to possibly be everyday players. Definitely nobody that was like of the caliber prospect of like Barton Bailey, for instance. But He is the closest that's probably at least a solid prospect, maybe backup at some point. And then a guy that their former first round pick, actually the first draft pick by Farhan Zaidi, Hunter Bishop, is back playing baseball again. Elbow is healthy. He's healthy. I don't have high expectations out of Hunter Bishop, but he's a guy that it's hard not to root for. He's dealt with a lot of things in his personal life. He's a local guy. He's got every tool. We'll just see how he does this season, and hopefully he can finally stay healthy. That's something he's battled since he's been drafted, and I'm just rooting for the guy to stay healthy and finally get a chance to show what he can do when he's healthy for an entire season. So he went 3 for 9, hit an absolute missile of a home run. I think it was 106 off the bat that he just scorched to right field. Had a walk and a strikeout other than that, but I'll definitely have the home run showing on here. But yeah, he nice opening series for him. I'm just rooting for the guy to do well, but not a ton of expectations. Now moving over to the Little Giants in San Jose, they went 0 and oh, actually, I'm sorry, I skipped Eugene. Going over to Eugene, they went 2-1 versus Tri Cities. Not a ton of top end talent there. It's actually funny because their high A team seems like for the last few years has constantly had like the most talent in the system. And right now they only have two guys on the top 30 list that are like actually playing. And that's Diego Velasquez, who's their number 18 prospect. Very intriguing prospect, actually. Guy went to, he was an international signee. He went to uh, San Jose last season as a 19-year-old and actually hit really well there. And so far, he's 4 for 12, two doubles, two walks, three strikeouts, and a stolen base. More than he's a middle infielder, more likely to stick at second than short, but uh, someone to keep an eye on. Guy can hit. So he's 20 years old right now. He'll turn 21 in October. So we'll see how he does. But he's a guy that's pretty exciting, and it would be nice to see if he can just keep swinging it well. Last guy that we'll talk about from Eugene is uh, O'Neill Perez, who is technically a catcher, probably shouldn't be a catcher. They'll probably move him off of that position at some point. You're talking about a guy that committed 24 pass balls in only 62 games last season. Went 4 for 9 with a double, though. He's one of the better contact guys, good bat to ball skills. Hopefully, the power eventually develops. He only hit 4 home runs last season, but um, someone to keep an eye on. I think he's a guy that'll eventually move off of catcher. He does have a big arm, but needs a lot of refinement if he's going to stick back there. And I think he's a guy that eventually ends up at like first base or something like that. And we'll see. He may end up eventually pretty blocked in the system, but you know what? If you can hit, they'll find a place for you. So we'll see how he does. He had a good solid opening weekend though. Now we'll go over to the San Jose Little Giants. And this is where I talk about Eugene doesn't have a ton of the talent. San Jose is the opposite. They have a lot of talent. Most of the talent in the Giants system right now is, especially for pitching, it's up in Sacramento, but they also have like a lot of good top end talent in Sacramento. And then they also have a ton of talent in San Jose. So a lot of guys I was super high on from the last draft class. And I think Eugene by the middle of this year is going to be, pretty loaded with talent again, because I think some of these guys are going to jump up pretty fast to Eugene. So San Jose, they did go 0-3 versus Fresno, though. Number 3 prospect, Bryce Eldridge, 3 for 12 with a home run, a double, a walk, and 3 strikeouts. The double actually looked like a more impressive swing to me. He hit an absolute missile off the left field fence, um, facing a lefty. And then the home run, also against a lefty, he put out to opposite field, to left field. It looked like a pop up off the bat. It would have been a ball that when he hit it, I mean, he stayed inside it well, but when he hit it, it almost looked like this is going to be a pop up to the third baseman, like, or like really shallow left field, and it carries all the way out and got out. So the guy has massive power, and doesn't look, he's a guy that doesn't look like he needs to get all of a ball to get it out with relative ease. So it was good to see he had a good solid opening weekend series. Their number 9 prospect, Maui Ahuna, went 3 for 7, 2 strikeouts. Might be their best defensive shortstop prospect in the system. Him and Averson Arteaga are both excellent defensive prospects. So it'll be kind of fun to watch and see how those two guys end up developing. But Arteaga is behind the 8 ball right now because he's not healthy. So we'll see what happens there. But Ahuna had a good solid week with the bat. He was a guy that they got in the 4th round last season, or in the June draft. And a lot of people thought he might have been a first rounder before the season. Then he kind of pressed and had a rough year in Tennessee and dropped. So I like that pick by the Giants. He looked pretty good. Their number 10 prospect, Joe Whitman, who is already viewed as like one of the top 10-ish left-handed pitching prospects in the game. 2 2/3 innings, only gave up 1 earned run. Kind of a wacky stat line here, very Jonathan Sanchez-esque. 2.2 innings, 1 earned run, 1 hit, 6 walks, 3 strikeouts. So control was clearly an issue, but he battled, only gave up 1 earned run. I don't think he's going to be a guy that constantly has the control issues. It's not really been his MO, but we'll kind of see what happens there. Something to keep an eye on if you see that pop up for sure. Their number 26 prospect is Cole Foster. He was actually one of their 3rd round picks last season. He's off to a nice start. He struggled a ton last season in the ACL, I believe it was, but he went 4 for 13, home run, double, walk, 3 strikeouts. So good week. And then now the guy that bumped up to the number 30 prospect after Kyle Harrison graduated off the list is the guy, Jonah Cox, that they got for Ross Stripling from the A's. He was actually a 6th round draft pick last season for the A's. Guy he just hits. He was a guy that in college had I think 47 game hit streak or something along those lines. Kind of reminds me of Meckler when they were talking about him last season as a guy that might just rip through the system because he just hits. It's what he does. And he's not, he's an older prospect. He's a little more mature and farther along than a lot of guys when they get to the minors. 6 for 12 with a walk, 4 strikeouts. So we'll see what he does going forward. But I mean, the guy he just hits. I know today, I think he had another hit or 2 in today's game. So we'll see how he does. But that's it for the prospects on the farm. As I said, tomorrow I will be doing another recording because to kind of my thoughts on the series against Washington that are so far almost exclusively negative. Hopefully they can give me something positive to talk about with the big league club. But I wanted to do this today as I'm going to do every week. And luckily we had a lot of good things to talk about with this for the minor league teams. But as always, if you guys like the material, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Appreciate all the support. I appreciate all the interactions with everyone. I enjoy, talking and debating stuff or talking ball with any of you guys in the comments or on other avenues such as, or things like Twitter or anything like that. So appreciate it with everyone. And other than that, go Giants. Hopefully they can pull one out tomorrow. But other than that, we will talk to you guys later. Bye.